The following is an EHC media production.
Hey, this is Daniel Crimmins, host of SmackDown and Out. Join me every week where I will discuss everything related to SmackDown Live. Rumors, stories, and even a recap of each episode. Join me every week right here on the RWT page.
What's going on, RWT family? This is your boy Moses Marquez, the voice of the Major League Show, and I'm coming at you to tell you if you enjoy the way I go in-depth into all things New Japan Pro Wrestling on the Major League Show, then you will love the way I go into all things pro wrestling on Smart Mark Radio. We talk WWE, Impact, Lucha, Indies, and everything in between. So again, if you want to listen to a little Smart Mark Radio and you consider yourself a Smart Mark, check out smartmarkradio.podbean.com. Again, smartmarkradio.podbean.com. You can also check us out on SoundCloud under the artist name Moses Marquez. Thanks guys, and we hope to catch you on later this week.
Coming soon to RWT.
So, The Undertaker, the Phenom, versus Triple H at the Super Showdown in Australia.
A new kind of show from a voice you've never heard.
Randy Orton, the Viper, and the Legend Killer. What more do I have to say?
Now that she has arrived, the podcast evolution has begun.
My name is Moni, and I'd like to welcome you to Wrestling Nerdship Podcast.
Contains scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the RWT Podcast.
Well, hello there, RWT family. My name, of course, is Amir Blackburn Costello, and this is the RWT Podcast. Man, I'm telling you guys, I get it. The Hardy Boys, it's nostalgic. They have their latest run going and everything like that. It's cool. But if you miss when they were there before, that intro that I created, that's Jeff Hardy's old music for WWE, like when he was just a singles competitor, not in the Hardy's Boys. Hardy's Boys. You see what my brain did there? Jesus Christ, what is going on in this house? Anywho, I like that song so much, and that's why I use it as the intro. So bring it back, Jeff. You're injured right now, but when you come back, bring it back. Or get broken, whatever, fuck it. Today's show is going to be good. First off, the guests today are going to be Will, Gilliam, and Bobby Mackey. Now, I have to apologize to them. I actually recorded the show with them about a month ago, and then I started my master's program, and I just never found the time to finish editing the show and get it put up. But you know what? That kind of makes me a jerk. So Will and Bobby, if you're out there, you were fantastic guests. I'm so sorry that it took me so long to put this show up, and I look forward to having you both back on the show. with that being said, it was the first time I ever did a show with more than one person. There was 3 of us. There were some, will tell you himself, there were some issues, man, because Bobby Mackey was on some sort of delay. I don't know how, I don't know why, but he just could not get in tune, could not get in sync with us. And it was hilarious. Will and I are on the same page. Bobby was on a different planet. So this is one of the funnier shows that I've ever done. But I will tell you, this show was all about what I thought and what Will thought and what Bobby thought was the best WrestleMania. So we all just kind of came to the table and we kind of put our thoughts out there. You know, each man said what he thought was the best WrestleMania and why, and we just went against each other card for card. So after you listen to it, I'd be interested to hear what everybody thinks, you know, and I posted up. Let me see in the comments section, you know, do you agree with one of the 3 of us, or do you have a different WrestleMania that stands out for you, and why? Here's another thing, before we get to the interview, I don't know if you guys remember, anybody who actually listens to this show, all 3 of you, haha, Declan, thank you so much for listening. You are a loyal, faithful listener. I love you, Declan. Listen, a couple of you ago, I played Chris Jericho's song Judas from his band Fozzy. It's a hit song. It made #1 on the charts. And I got to thinking, some of the people in this group are you know, talented and are in rock and roll bands, make music, myself included. Of course, I can't just come out the gate and put my song up first, because that's kind of a dick move, because it's my podcast and it's like, he's promoting himself. No, I won't do that. But here's who I am going to be promoting this week. There's a guy in the group, his name is Joe Gonzalez, and you know, he works hard, man. I don't know if he still has time to be doing music, but you know, I've known Joe for a long time, and he's a part of the amazing It Couple with Jessica Gonzalez, and they were on the podcast before. And what I failed to mention is this guy is a bona fide rock star. So without his permission, and if he gets mad, sorry, Joe, but you know the old saying, you know, ask for forgiveness, not permission. So without Joe's permission, I'm going to play for you a song from Joe's band, which he was the lead singer, a band called Dirty Suicide. This song is called Partay. Sorry if I sound like an idiot saying that, but I'm old, man. All right, you got to give me a pass. But the song is awesome. Joe, like I said, is a bona fide rock star, so I'm going to play Partay for you by Dirty Suicide, and at the conclusion of that song, we will jump right into my first ever 3-man interview with myself, Will, and Bobby Mackey. Enjoy the song.
Nobody's gonna tell me what to do. Stop the car, wait dick in it if he goes, hey man, where's my pants?
So there you have it, guys. That was Partay by Dirty Suicide, and Jesus Christ, that is a very enjoyable song. I love rock and roll personally, so I mean, even if you don't love it, how could you not jam to that motherfucker? So here's the thing. I want to promote you guys. Everybody who listens to the show, everybody who's on the page, we're 2,300 strong right now. If there's something that you do, be it music or art, or I don't know, whatever you do, I want to promote you. So let me know what you got going on here, and we will find a way to get your talent or whatever you do onto the show and advertise it so other people can know about it. And for example, if you make awesome music like Joe, then everybody will get to hear it right here on the RWT podcast. So yeah, inbox me, whatever, we'll figure it out. But I want to showcase all your guys' talents and expose you to all 2,300 people on the page. So without further ado, let's jump right in to this amazing, hilarious, full of technical difficulties, but still pretty good interview all about WrestleMania, man. Myself, Will Gilliam, and Bobby Mackey. Enjoy. Welcome back to the RWT podcast. Of course, I'm still here, your host, Emir Blackbane Costello, and as promised, I brought my two good friends with me. Mr. Will Gilliam, how you doing today?
What's going on, brother? Feels good to be here. I've been wanting to do this for a while.
Thank you so much. And of course, we have Bobby Mackey on the line. Bobby, how are you today?
I'm fine, sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you guys so much. I've seen you guys, of course, posting on the page and being very active. And I kept saying to myself, I got to get these guys on the show. And I don't know, man, I got a little absent-minded. But then as fate would have it, the three of us have been engaged in this kind of intense conversation all day long about what WrestleMania was the best and what matches stole what show. And here we are, the three of us ready here to have this conversation. So let's start with Will here, because Will, I felt like it might have been your status on the page last night. What was your original status about?
All right, so I was saying that I thought that WrestleMania 32 was the best in the last couple of years, and then I stated that I thought it was top 3 all the time.
Okay, and what was it about WrestleMania 32? I'm trying to think. What was the main event of WrestleMania 32?
With the ladder match for the Intercontinental title, and oh man, that was exciting. You had Sammy, you had KO, you had Zack Ryder. Trying to think who all was in there. Dolph, a couple of guys, man. It was action packed. Then you had AJ versus Chris Jericho. Man, it was just triple threat match with the girl, Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha. It was just exciting, man, start to finish. Well, I didn't really like the finish, the main event, but I'll take that one match. That was kind of bad.
Okay, yeah, you know what I remember from that WrestleMania? I do remember the Intercontinental title match, because I specifically remember I thought The Miz was going to win, and then Zack Ryder jumped up there, pushed him off the ladder, and he finally got his first WrestleMania moment.
Right, finally got a moment at his first WrestleMania 10 years in the company.
And what about, how about you, Bobby? What was, what WrestleMania were you trying to make a case for being the best?
Myself, I was actually trying to make the case for WrestleMania 17 and 21.
Okay, now I remember WrestleMania 21 because I believe that's when they went Hollywood out here in Los Angeles. Am I correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yes, sir.
So I don't know. I kind of remember like they were doing all these vignettes where they were having the wrestlers, recreate all these famous movie scenes. And I just remember like Booker T and Eddie Guerrero and some of those guys. Like, what was the best match on the card that year?
Yeah, that's right. Sure did. Everything leading up to that was basically all Hollywood from old school sketches.
I don't really remember WrestleMania 17. I mean, just like hearing the number, I don't remember it. But could you refresh my memory? Like, what were some of the big matches from that year, WrestleMania 17?
Well, if if some would recall, WrestleMania 17 was the build-up for, Rock and Stone Cold, being as that was Stone Cold Rock Part 2 from 15, from their first classic that they had when they first met each other. And then on top of that, you had, I believe, Triple H versus Jericho with Stephanie, as Jericho's manager. All due to the fact of him winning the Royal Rumble and whatnot.
Yeah, Jericho. The thing
was
about
something of that nature.
Jericho back then.
It was down to him.
He was I don't know if you remember, but Jericho used to be really hard on Stephanie. Like, he would just basically come out every week and call her a hoe, just straight up. I was like, this has got to be. I mean, I was a lot younger back then, so I didn't really understand the inner workings of the entire business. But I thought, how could Vince McMahon be comfortable with this? Now I realize that Vince is a sick bastard. But at the time, I thought maybe this guy would be upset. You know what I remember about WrestleMania 17? I don't remember a lot about the WrestleMania itself, but I remember. I think there was a video game that came out on GameCube or something.
The infamous ladder match. Come on now.
Which one? That was the
TLC was in there.
The infamous ladder match.
Was that the first TLC match?
Yeah, that was the first TLC. They were the first TLC at the WrestleMania.
The Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian?
And Christian, yeah.
That was Money in the Bank before Money in the Bank was Money in the Bank.
Yeah, you know what? I think the problem back then was that I didn't have any money. Like, I was so young, and my mama wasn't going for that. $65 for a pay-per-view. This is how bad it was. Let me tell you how poor I was. I used to watch Sunday Night Heat, right? And I would think, okay, Sunday Night Heat, all they're doing is putting over the pay-per-view right before it comes on. They'd be like, and JR would be like, oh, listen, folks, we got 5 minutes left. It's a 5-minute countdown. And I would watch Sunday Night Heat until it would go off. And every time I would think, what if they make a mistake and they play the pay-per-view by accident? But they never did.
Yo, listen, this is real. I was so poor.
I had that too. I used to have the same imagination, but you also got to remember too that same time they did that, it was simultaneous with the blackout color and just the audio. The channel over from that channel was the pay-per-view channel, and so whatever you were watching that moment, you clicked over to the pay-per-view channel where you couldn't see anything. You was just all blurry, but you could hear everything.
What?
That's how I remember doing. Huh?
That's exactly what I was about to say. That's how I used to watch pay-per-view.
So you guys would listen to the pay-per-view?
But you could see stuff, but it just wouldn't be clear. It wouldn't be clear picture.
I didn't even realize that there was this hack.
You got lucky and it blurred itself into a full image. Sooner or later, even though it was fuzzy, you could still see what was happening.
Okay, before the network came out, okay, I remember even as an adult, when I was finally living on my own and I had my kids and stuff, I would have to look really hard at the card, because I'm telling you, man, I would be holding the remote in my hand, making life decisions. Like, okay, if I order this pay-per-view, I won't be able to eat lunch 3 days next week.
Yeah, man, it was almost like, oh man, if I watch this, I might not have but a quarter tank of gas to last for a whole week. So I had to make sure it was worth it.
Yeah. So the worst thing was, here was the worst. I felt like every time I watched a pay-per-view that somebody else bought, it was a pretty good pay-per-view. But I felt like every time I spent my own money on a pay-per-view, the shit was terrible.
Oh, boy.
Definitely.
So I tried to make the case with you guys for WrestleMania 22, and I went so far with it that, Will, I was able to get you to actually go back and watch a couple of matches, I think, from the pay-per-view, if not the whole thing.
I actually watched the whole pay-per-view today.
So what did you think? So, Will, what did you think of WrestleMania 22 cover to cover?
Okay. Now, I will say say this. I was thoroughly impressed. Up until the Booker T Boogeyman segment. That was absolutely. And the pillow fight. What was that about?
Well, hang on now. Let's be fair. That was before the women's revolution, okay?
Right.
The Playboy Bunny pillow fight.
But to that point, Mickey James and Trish Stratus, maybe 30, 45 minutes before that, put on a great match.
Yeah, so this is why I liked Mickey James. I liked Mickey James back then because she was a lesbian. And I remember she tried to rub all on Trish. I mean, she touched Trish Stratus. She licked her fingers and then grabbed Trish Stratus. Okay, she was Donald Trump before Trump was Trump. I mean, she was grabbing by the pussy. She had been grabbing by the pussy. Do you understand? She invented that move. Oh man. So yeah, they were allowed to wrestle because I think like Trish Stratus, Lita, and then Mickey James, they were a bit more athletic, but most of the other girls were just like party props, like bra and panties match, wrestle in the mud, just a bunch of bullshit, you know.
Yeah, but that's a whole. And I'm not the only one that needed Taz as a commentator.
The thing about Taz is really.
I can't say Taz. I feel Taz was carrying Cole more than anything.
Taz is so rough around the edges.
Being that other conscience to the segment of the commentary team, I don't know. It probably would have been boring.
He definitely had moments, but it just as a whole, I just wasn't into Taz as a commentator.
Okay.
Maybe that's just me. Here's
this, Will. Okay, part of me says you're right. Taz was like very like rough, and he had this like Brooklyn accent, and he doesn't come off as a professional. It's not his fault, but it's just the way he sounds. He's so aggressive.
Right.
It's not his voice is not pleasing to the ears anesthetically. But with that being said, Taz has a very successful podcast. That I mean, I know people who listen to his show. They choose this, Will. You understand? Nobody's forcing them. They actually wake up and go, I want my ears to hear Taz's voice. So how do you explain that?
I can't. You stumped me with that one. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, man. He has a podcast, and I'm telling you, Brian Green, who I had on the show this past week, the original time, months back when I had him on the show, he referenced that he actually called in and spoke to Taz about how sometimes the crowds can be disrespectful, and this is before the whole beach ball thing. This was just like in general when the crowds tried to like hijack the show and make the show more about them than about what's going on in the ring. And so Taz, I think he wasn't not my favorite guy on commentary. I agree with you, but somebody likes him apparently.
Yeah.
So what about so we were talking, you and I and Bobby were talking about match stealing. Show stealing matches. Like from WrestleMania 17 through WrestleMania 22, what were the matches that stole the show? So I want to go back to WrestleMania 17. Bobby, I think you were making the case. What match was it that you felt stole the show that year?
Actually, at first, I had the infamous triple threat, the tag team triple threat, as the show stealer. But then again, they followed up with Hogan and Rock, and as much as people wanted to see Stone Cold versus Hogan, being that probably would have put more in the seats as far as I'm concerned or anyone else was. They were more impressed with how it turned out with The Rock and Hogan. And that actually, to me, stole the show, being as if nobody else could have did what that tag team triple threat match could have, those two basically put it over, came in a slight edge over that match and put on one hell of a show.
Okay, so Will,
no one has ever seen before. And this is what 17, 16, and I don't want to give 16 anything, being being so, was 16 2000? WrestleMania called to WrestleMania 2000 instead of 16 with that fatal 4-way?
Yeah, I remember that for sure.
That was coming off of a horrible, not a horrible, but not a really good WrestleMania 2000. And a couple years ago, WrestleMania 14, you had Austin and Shawn. So the gap between those, and also Austin and Rock. So you know, they didn't really have a good blockbuster of a WrestleMania to follow up prior to WrestleMania 2000. And out of nowhere, 17 comes in, and we got Rock and Hogan, and then you got that triple threat. So those two stole the show to me, but overall, the bigger draw, if most people would probably say, would be Hogan and Rock.
So the Rock and Hogan match was built up as like wrestling's past meets wrestling's future, and so Will, did you happen to catch Hogan versus Rock?
I'm trying to remember it. I remember the pay-per-view, but I just drawing a blank on that.
Here's the recap. Here's the recap for you. Hogan comes in with the NWO. Okay, that's when Vince McMahon was like, you know, y'all done fucked up. Y'all done pissed me off, and so I'm gonna kill my creation, the WWE. I'm gonna bring in a poison, and it was a really good. It was a good promo, right? So the NWO comes in, and so here's the thing: even though these are all New York guys, like they all came from WWF, but they were never NWO in WWE before. So essentially, this is not Diesel and Razor. This is Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hollywood Hogan. Well, really, these wrestlers, supposedly, we're all meeting them for the first time, right?
Yeah.
So Hogan goes into the match as the bad guy because he's with the NWO, and The Rock goes in as the babyface. But what The Rock, neither The Rock nor Hogan could ever anticipate is that, I don't know, man. We all grew up with Hulk Hogan. Yeah, most of us, right? So it's like, it doesn't really matter what colors Hulk Hogan is wearing. He's the guy. If Hogan left the WWE because he used the N-word. If Hogan came back today, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I'm a black guy. I would be still a little bit excited to see Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
Hogan's one of the biggest names ever. Probably the biggest name ever in wrestling. Like, without Hulk, there are none of these other guys, in my opinion.
Right. So he goes into the match as the bad guy. Rock is the good guy. But when the crowd gets them in front, the crowd goes, we don't really care about that bullshit. We're going to cheer for Hulk Hogan. And anytime The Rock gets off any offensive move, we're going to boo The Rock. And you could see the look on The Rock's face. It was kind of similar to the look on Roman Reigns' face last night, where it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Oh, boy.
Right. And so that's why that match was so epic, as Bobby alluded to on the page. It was like, so Bobby, you said it was in Chicago?
No, 2022 was in Chicago.
Oh, okay. I got a little bit confused when we were commenting back and forth so quickly, but it was like the crowd, they turned on The Rock and they went for Hogan the whole time, and those two veterans are so smart. They just went with it. They knew how to play the match. So if you don't remember it that well, Will, you should go back and watch it. So
didn't Razor, but not Razor, but Scott and Scott and Stone Cold wrestled that night too?
Okay.
Yes, they did.
They wrestled that night, but it was a shitty match, and
right, because Scott was, I think Scott was out of it that day. Right.
I mean, they both were kind of like, they did the best they could with the condition that he was in, but both of them will tell you it wasn't their favorite match. It wasn't, they weren't super proud of it, but they were like, fuck it, we did what we could with a bad situation.
Yeah. But yeah,
because no one, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna say, no one wanted to see Stone Cold versus Scott Hall. Everybody wanted to see a Stone Cold versus Hogan.
Well, see, this is how you explain this. This is what happens. Oh, I'm not sure who that is, but tell them they just made an appearance on the RWT podcast. Right? Oh, Vince McMahon says this. He says, "Oh, you guys want to see Hogan versus Austin? But here's the thing: Austin's the biggest thing that we got right now. I want to push The Rock. I want The Rock to be, you know, this super over baby face so we can make another, you know, superstar. So I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to put Hogan versus The Rock. And then when the match works out the way it does, everybody goes, damn, Vince was right all along. He was a genius. All Vince McMahon does is, okay, I'm not going to take away from that. I'm just going to say, I don't think that he could anticipate all that. I just think he just was like, fuck it, it's my show, so I'm going to do what I want. And then it happened to work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had to put Rock over, and that definitely catapulted Rock into the space that he's in now.
Yeah, man, it was big time. And so then they recycled the storyline with basically like with DX. I mean, because like Stone Cold took out Shawn Michaels, and then the next night Triple H comes out and was like, Shawn dropped the ball. Well, the same thing happened at that WrestleMania. Hogan goes down to The Rock, and NWO is like, Nash and Hall, they're like, ah, fuck this guy, right? He fucked up.
Right.
So, what about WrestleMania 18? Bobby, what match did you say stole the show at WrestleMania 18?
What did I say? Let's see, I said 17. Was that one 18? What did I say? It was a one-on-one, and I already forgot. Cause I remember they did it again with that triple threat.
I think at one point you mentioned Shawn versus Kurt. What WrestleMania was that?
Oh, Kurt. It was I think it was. No. I think that was that was Austin and Rock, right?
No, we got them two completely mixed up. 17 was Austin and Rock. 18 was Austin and Hogan and Rock.
Oh, okay. I should have had my notes in front of me, but I was like, oh, Bobby wrote it. He'll remember. Okay, so WrestleMania 19 then.
Okay, if I go back to my Facebook post, I probably think I got that backwards too, as far as I'm concerned.
What was the match that stole the show at 19?
I did say Hogan. I think I said Austin and Rock first, and then 18 was Hogan and Rock. There you go.
And who did you have for 19?
19? Kurt and Brock, easily.
Because that's the match where Brock Lesnar does the shooting star press and breaks his neck. Right? Brock Lesnar was... repeat that? Yeah, that's the match where Brock Lesnar does the shooting star press and breaks his neck, correct?
And miss horribly.
No, technically, he missed, but come on, he was in the middle of the ring. That was on some Evan Bourne.
Technically.
He should have tried.
In the middle of it. You knew he wasn't amazing. So, if you bring him an inch or two closer towards the rope, Brock hadn't done that since his rookie years in what is it, CFW, or was it
there was a
you know what I'm talking about?
Ohio Valley Wrestling, OVW.
Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Okay, this is the reason why. This is what happens now. Okay, so Will and Bobby, do you guys play the WWE 2K video games?
Yes.
Okay.
I got almost every copy.
Okay, perfect. Brock Lesnar breaking his neck, I'm just going to theorize, is the reason why, even on the game, the moment your opponent goes to the top rope, your guy just automatically rolls himself into position. Anybody else notice that shit?
Yeah.
How you gonna roll me into position? I didn't want to be over there. But they can't have any more broken necks. So now it's like Brock doesn't have to judge that distance anymore. It's your job. If Jericho gets knocked on the ground all the way on the left side of the ring and Brock goes to the opposite turnbuckle, he's got to roll 8 times to get to the proper position. So what?
And this is on the video game we talking?
Yeah, bro. Okay, so if you have, let's say 2K17, because that's where we're all playing that right now. If you and I are playing each other and I clothesline you and you hit the ground, but you're nowhere near like the turnbuckle, if I go to the top rope, your character will automatically roll to the closest to me, like right wherever I'm gonna land, your character will automatically roll over there to me and get in the perfect spot for me to hit you. Which I think is crazy.
More than likely, you either get countered or you just miss it, or get the way they got it set up with their with the automated programming of the game itself. You might get hit with a finisher.
Has anybody seen Kurt Angle's Homecoming?
There's 3 ways to counter that.
Has anybody seen the Kurt Angle Homecoming special on the network?
Oh yeah.
So
the 24?
yeah, WWE 24, right? The Kurt Angle. So Will, so you?
I hope you guys remember. I did share that.
Have you seen it? You haven't seen it, Bobby?
Yeah, I shared it. I shared it on the
Oh, you shared it?
page.
Okay, perfect. So we all know then from watching that, Kurt Angle, when he had that match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 19, I mean, he was dealing with a lot of injuries. He was already on drugs. And he was doing the Shawn Michaels where it's like, I mean, did you guys think it was surprising when he said, yeah, I had to swallow that bitter pill of like this up and coming kid, John Cena, who was taking my spot? Did you all catch that?
Oh yeah.
I never knew he felt that way.
That's the beginning of Cena's rise.
Most definitely.
So when he has that match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, he knows he's dropping the belt. This is like, let me just give this one last performance because I got nothing left. He broke his neck 28 times by that point.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it just keeps breaking his neck. That's what's even more crazy if you think about it is people putting stories on the page that Kurt Angle says he's going to wrestle by the end of the year.
No way, man.
I don't know, man. I mean, he was going, right? In TNA, he was doing his thing.
Repeat that again. You said Kurt Angle was going to do what by the end of the year?
He will supposedly be back in the ring competing.
No surprise knowing him.
I don't think they'll do that to him, man.
Well, he wants it. I mean, it's like Daniel Bryan. He wants it, you know.
I was about to say Daniel Bryan.
By the way, Will, what do you think of that Daniel Bryan situation? Can you make any sense of it?
It's concussion, right?
Yeah.
Well, WWE has problems with concussion. So I think they're trying to stay as far away from that issue as they can by just not allowing him to speak. There's no way around those concussions. Once we start having concussions, anytime you hit the head pretty good, you're going to keep having.
I think we're kind of losing you, buddy. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So the problem with not letting a guy like Daniel Bryan compete is he will do this thing where he goes, if you don't let me do what I love here, then when my contract expires, I'll just go somewhere else and do it.
Right.
And
I would hate to see him leave. Definitely. I enjoy his ring work, but that health is important, man.
So, are you saying, Will, that if Daniel Bryan goes to, let's say, a Ring of Honor, that you wouldn't tune in and watch him wrestle?
I don't watch Ring of Honor as it is, so probably not.
Because I think I would. I mean, I don't know. As long as it's not GFW, I'd probably still watch him. I can't do TNA, man. Something in my...
I actually watched Impact a lot back in the days.
But you know what? You're watching Impact every week right now when you watch SmackDown. All their guys.
All the guys are up there.
Yeah, there's no... We have Impact. I mean, we didn't acquire the company, but didn't we? I mean, we...
Yeah.
Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Kurt Angle.
And some more.
Oh my goodness. So WrestleMania 20. What was the big match for WrestleMania 20?
Was that Cena? Who did Cena have?
Was that when Cena fought JBL maybe?
Hello.
Oh yeah, for the United States.
What?
He fought Big Show. And what about? I'm trying to think, cause that wasn't for the.
He had the triple threat match that year too, though.
Well, who was in the triple threat?
H, Benoit, and
Wait. What are we talking about?
WrestleMania 20.
WrestleMania 20? Yeah. What about it?
What was the big matches that year?
WrestleMania 20?
Yes, sir.
That was when Eddie and Benoit both won their respective titles at the time, being his best friends and whatnot. Matches that they weren't supposed to win, they won. You had Cena winning his first U.S. title. He was the opening for WrestleMania 20. Undertaker returned versus Kane. I don't know about the females, but what else? You had Edge and Christian. Oh no! You had Christian and Chris Jericho fighting for Trish. Yeah, that year too. That was kind of funny. Let me see, and I think that was that tag. It was a tag team match, or a cruiserweight gauntlet, I believe so.
So I remember that John
Wasn't
Cena.
it like a cruiserweight gauntlet?
I can't remember the cruiserweight match. I do remember Big Show and Cena. That's when Cena won the U.S. title and he like fell back in the crowd with it, and they just like he just surfed a little bit. What did you guys think of? Let's start with you, Will. So
that's when his persona changed.
So we're saying if that's the year that Benoit won that triple threat match with Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Triple H and Shawn.
What did you? Okay, so Will, when Benoit went over and got the belt, man, like what did you think of that?
I wouldn't say I predicted it, but I saw it coming because when you put him in the ring with those guys, you're basically already trying to put him over, and the only way more over he can be is to have the belt.
You see, look at a guy like Benoit. He wasn't a big guy, and he wasn't super charismatic on the microphone, but he just was a pure wrestler. So the fact that they put the strap on him, I mean, it meant a lot, right? Like Bobby, would you when you saw the end of that match, Bobby, what did you think?
I was actually surprised and excited at the same time because I didn't expect it, but knowing what I know now, seeing how things are unraveled, he was somewhat protected. He was somewhat protected going into that match. And if people don't remember that, I don't know. I forgot if it started with the Royal Rumble, putting him at number 1 or 2 at that time and letting him win that, and then protecting him along the way or before then, but. He was mostly protected, and now that I see that, I now know like why they chose him. But he was very phenomenal, and if it also corrects me, Triple H was hurt, because I also remember Brock and Goldberg had their match too at WrestleMania 20. And you all know what happened that year with Goldberg and SummerSlam with Triple H.
Yeah, man, that was rough.
He destroyed.
But I don't know, and I don't know why, but they giving Benoit his chance was more granted, being as I believe Triple H was being hurt, and Shawn. I don't know if they would have had that much faith to put it in Shawn's hands again.
It's just one of those things
so
where
they having a safer choice with Benoit.
They say, okay, because history and some disgruntled wrestlers who have been released would have you believe that Shawn Michaels and Triple H have made an entire career out of burying guys. But then you have them in a match with Chris Benoit where I'm not saying that they don't ever politic. I mean, they are the clique after all. But I'm saying they must have seen something in Benoit too, where they both were able to step aside and say, he's the right choice right now.
Right.
When a guy gets the shot, go ahead.
What I kind of don't understand was like why do Goldberg like that? Even though he was leaving the company, I kind of want to ask that what if question, because when they made him make his debut, he just ran through everyone. He started with The Rock, and then he turned over to Triple H, and then they screw him at Armageddon, and then they screw him at SummerSlam, just to have him have that match he had with Brock. So I kind of like didn't understand that.
What do you think? What do you think, Will? Why would they bring Goldberg in just to bury him?
That's what they do. Being big stars and bury them. They've been doing this, well, especially in recent years. Guys get to the main roster and they get stuck in quicksand.
Yeah.
There's no room for them to grow.
This is what happens, okay? I'm gonna just break it down really simply here for you guys because I think this is the right answer. Two things. I'm gonna go with Will's theory of even in their own company, a guy is a star in NXT. He comes to the main roster, he ain't shit. That's one. And then the next thing is, do you guys remember at WrestleMania, I believe it was probably in San Francisco, when Triple H fought against Sting?
Yeah.
There was no reason for Triple H to go over in that match. That they knew that was more than likely one of, first of all, it's Sting's first appearance at a WrestleMania. What are we doing here? Sting's got to win that match, but here's the thing. They can't, Vince McMahon has too much of an ego to feel like WCW won. And even though Sting was a WWE contracted wrestler at that point, Sting still represented WCW to him. So if you go back in time now to WrestleMania 20 and you have Goldberg, yes, they've signed Goldberg, but see, in WCW, Goldberg was WCW's answer to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, he dressed exactly like him. He had just as much stardom on that side. So why do we bury Goldberg? We bury Goldberg because Goldberg, in case you missed the fact that WCW lost, we're not going to let you come over here and go over our guys. You were a big star over there. We're going to make sure that you know exactly what we thought of you over here. By the way, Gilbert wasn't enough. We're not even going to we're not going to touch Gilbert. We're just going to have you come over here thinking you're still a big star, and we're going to let all of our stars bury you, because that's what happens. The winners, gentlemen, the winners write the history books.
Yeah. And this, somebody brought up on a post a few days ago in the group, we were talking about some kind of way we got on the subject of AJ beating CM and they were saying you saw what happened when Sting came and he lost. It was like, well, AJ was never a competitor. Like, they didn't see AJ as competition at that point. So when they brought him in, it was like, okay, we can put this guy. Was AJ was nobody was. What are you saying?
This is what you're saying, Will. This is what he's saying, Bobby. WCW was direct competition for WWE to the point to where they almost had to shut down because of that. But WWE has never, they don't even acknowledge TNA. Like, to them, TNA is not even, TNA may as well be a piece of gum on the bottom of their shoe. So they don't need to rub it in AJ Styles' face, because even though he came from that other company, yeah, you guys, WWE would little bro TNA. Like, hey, sit your ass down somewhere. You know, I'm really running this. So that's why a guy like AJ Styles can get over in WWE, because they never saw him or that company as a threat. So they're all good with him.
Right. TNA is like the D League to the NBA.
Right.
They never saw them as competition.
So there's no need to bury those guys.
But it wasn't competition to the product.
Right. So yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's an interesting theory, because did you guys hear what Ryback said about AJ Styles?
No, I didn't catch that.
Ryback, when he left WWE, disgruntled of course, he let out a lot of secrets, and one of the biggest secrets that he let out is that I think he was the first guy to face AJ Styles one-on-one, and he said that Vince McMahon came to him privately and said, when you wrestle AJ Styles, I want you to beat the fuck out of him, squash him like a bug, and, you know, I want you to really dominate him, like ragdoll him, you know, and show him, you know, like, what the fuck, like, this is WWE, like, you know, show him. So I part of me gets your theory, Will, and what the other people were saying, but according to Ryback, he was told to assault AJ Styles, like, not, you know, when those guys wrestle, they're meant to protect each other and put on a show, but according to Ryback, Vince McMahon told him, you get out there and you rough him up, show him where he's at now.
I'm trying to even remember him fighting Ryback.
I wonder if the match came to fruition on when we finish up tonight. I'll post to the page the link where Ryback is talking about that.
I'm so sorry, I got disconnected.
Oh yeah, man. We were talking about. Did you see when Ryback said that Vince McMahon told him to beat up AJ Styles? Bobby. So, Will, let's talk about WrestleMania 20.
Segue.
Right? Zoom. WrestleMania 22. You saw that match with Edge and Mick Foley. Tell me how you... I mean, Jesus Christ, what did you think of that match?
I thought I was watching ECW for a second.
Right?
That was Cactus in his element. And Edge really stepped it up, man. He was a big time player, and he stepped it up.
Did you see the blood in his eye?
Oh my God, he couldn't even see.
The look on Lita's face. She looked like she was gagging because of the smell of burnt flesh when that table was on fire.
That was crazy. And he was just at the end of that match, he was just ready to get out of there. Like, he wanted no parts of no celebration. He just ready to get to the back.
Yeah, man. So I don't know. I feel like when you asked the question originally, like, what was the best WrestleMania? WrestleMania 22 always sticks out in my mind as what I thought was the all-time best. But them talking to you...
Oh, no. Not you two.
Talking to you guys...
Not you two.
Well, here's...
I'm sorry to cut in, but come on now. Not 22.
I mean, where am I wrong? Tell me.
Huh?
What is that? I'm just saying, after talking to you guys, when I've talked to you guys right now through all the matches and all these other WrestleManias, now I'm starting to remember. I don't know if 22 was the best, but I think what really stuck out to me is...
Okay, put it like this. Answer yourself this question. What was on the WrestleMania 21 card, and which match was like, what matches made you really, like, think about, why is this match here? Because besides that one tag team match being as Eminem versus Eddie and Ray, I didn't see anything wrong with any other match in 21. And then on top of that, we saw Shelton Benjamin for the first time. We saw Kofi Kingston in a Shelton Benjamin before Kofi Kingston arrived at WrestleMania 21.
Jafakin.
The money.
He set the bar for the first ever Money in the Bank with what he did, how he did in that damn ladder match.
The reason why 22 stuck out to me was not... So I never looked at it like that. Like, what? Like, look at...
I couldn't see not one bad match besides the tag team. Besides that tag team match.
See, I didn't look at it. I didn't look at it in that way, where it's like, okay, look at the card and try to find something wrong with it. The way that I approached it was, what card made me feel the most emotionally? And so 22. The reason why I felt so much emotionally with that card was like Edge and Mick Foley, watching them put each other through hell. Shawn Michaels, when he said he was going to kick Vince McMahon's teeth down his throat, I think Vince McMahon literally had to go buy a new set of teeth after that kick.
That was brutal, man. Like,
did you see? Wait, Will, did you see the elbow drop? I mean, Vince McMahon's lying in the trash can. He put him in the trash, bro. Like, Sergeant's.
And you had the Dolph with the Spirit Squad. There was so many elements, man.
Yeah, it's like, and then when Triple H went against John Cena, see, I grew up in the beginning when I first started watching wrestling. My guys were Hogan, Brett, and Shawn. But of those three, Shawn was my guy. And then Triple H became my guy. From then on, my whole life, I've been a Triple H fan, and I just felt like all these people are losing to John Cena at that time because he's getting his run and they're putting him over. But I'm like, I know Triple H is gonna stop him because first of all, fuck John Cena, homie. Like, and then not only did he lose, but he tapped out, and my heart broke, homie. Like I never got over it.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see that today.
So
if he was gonna lose, I thought he would beat him, like pin him, but I didn't expect Triple H to tap out.
Right. So I think that's why 22 sticks out. I remember let me tell you something. I remember the cover of the WrestleMania 22 DVD. That's how crazy. I haven't seen it in years, but it just like my guy got submitted by John Cena, and ever since then I was like, fuck John Cena.
I got the worst connection in the world, fellas. Forgive me.
Oh, it's all good, man.
I'm like in somebody's neck of the woods.
You said
I feel like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
You said you're in Dallas, right? Dallas, Texas?
Golly.
I feel like you're talking on a delay. Like you're the newscaster. Like when the people in studio are talking and they go, "All right, let's go live on the scene to Bobby Mackey," and then like it takes you like 30 seconds and you're just holding your ear and you go, "Oh yeah, John. So what's going on out here?" And it's like, what was that 30-second gap just now?
That's exactly what's happening right now.
What?
Exactly. Bobby Mackey, you are in Dallas, Texas. How is Houston doing, man?
I can't speak because I'm not in that area, but for all I know, they are holding up, and for right now, the weather has stopped. But from what we've been hearing, they have been experiencing a lot of flooding still, and for let's see, about a month, from what the forecast has said, that flooding is gonna stay there for almost about a month's worth.
How many hours is Houston away from Dallas?
A good 4.5, almost 5.
Okay, so for me, that would be like driving from Long Beach, California, where I live, to Sacramento, California. So that's a pretty good distance. I hope everybody's okay out there, man. It sounds like people are going through hell.
Make it more accurate and say about a good 250 to 300 miles.
Yeah. Well, maybe it might be faster for you guys, but I'm talking California traffic too.
And we facing floods over here, so.
And Will,
we got worse than traffic right now.
Will, you're out of, you say South Carolina, or where are you out of?
Yeah, I'm from South Carolina. Shelton Benjamin is actually from my hometown, Orangeburg, but I live in Charleston now. Charleston is where the guy walked in the church and shot the 9 people.
Oh,
have you heard about that?
Yeah, Dylan, that white boy Dylan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, that guy's an asshole.
Did you know any of those people?
No, I didn't know him personally, but I know a father of the guy that's the pastor that got killed.
Yeah.
I know his father. Real good.
Wow. What a tragedy, man. I just hope everybody's able to find peace. The president of the United States, who at one point was in the WWE for a hair versus hair match.
The guy's in the Hall of Fame.
Right. It's rough, man.
Unfortunately.
I gotta ask both you guys.
Unfortunately.
Okay, Bobby, I'll start with you. When you find out that Linda McMahon is a part of the Trump administration. Does that change your views on WWE? Okay.
Not at all.
Oh, okay, cool. I was
because first and foremost, what people look, people don't really want to accept the fact that, just like Linda has been saying this whole time, even though she is of the WWE family somewhat, she doesn't really want to keep associating herself with WWE anymore like she used to. That she tries so hard to stay free from WWE, and as much as she has, it just because of Vince, she keeps getting pulled in that direction. So I think she herself doesn't really have anything to do with ties with WWE to actually, to affect her with her administration with Trump.
Okay, so the reason probably why she wants to distance herself is because she allowed herself to be in these circus type of storylines where she sits in a wheelchair with her eyes open, but she can't move her muscles, while Triple H rubs on Trish Stratus's titties and kisses her. So yeah, you don't want. It's tough to run for office when they got you on camera.
21, please.
Will.
So show Benjamin in the flying clothesline and that flying front flip off the ladder, please.
Right, that was. I'm glad they added that run up the ladder in the game when they added that to the game because of Shelton Benjamin.
Oh yeah. Shelton was dope, man.
Will. Okay, so same question for you, Linda McMahon. I mean, there was pictures of like Linda, Triple H, Stephanie, and Vince all sitting with Donald Trump in the Oval Office. When you saw that, did it make you feel some type of way towards WWE?
It surprised me. It didn't surprise me at all because, like, I already know they have a good working relationship with them. So, like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, that's nothing new. Like, it made me feel bad because I know what kind of guy he is, but at the same time, he's been that guy. Like, he's not, it didn't just happen when he started running for the presidency. He's been that guy, and they've been associates with him. So I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, man.
Let Vince be all paralyzed in a wheelchair and Linda take him on the scrolls.
You know that? Hey, y'all think Vince McMahon be fucking these bitches?
Oh my god.
I can't say that's not true, but man,
What he said he was the genetic jackhammer? And the only illegitimate baby was Hornswoggle?
I can't say none of that's not true.
That was funny.
But if he said he did it has to happen. I have yet to see anyone call Mr. McMahon out as being a fraud or a liar.
Do you think...
So I guess whatever he said or has been saying has been true.
Okay, well, what about you, Will? Okay, let's not talk about Vince. Let's talk about Triple H. Triple H is now the man. He's Vince McMahon almost entirely, but he's younger, and these women, they look at him like he's something to eat. Like, you think Triple H is clean out there, or you think he's taking them down?
That's tough. But I don't know, man.
Put him in the bad spot.
Because it might be so part of the business. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Is he that bold? Like, like I know he was pretty bold in his career, but in real life, can he be that bold?
I mean, Bill Clinton got head in the Oval. I'm just saying.
Bill Clinton was a totally different animal.
If you worked around Alexa Bliss, Naomi and Sasha and Peyton Royce...
Can I add a fact real quick about Triple H?
Yeah, let's do it.
Is Pomade?
Absolutely.
Yo.
30-second delay.
Triple H, if I may?
Yes, you can. By the way, I want you to listen back to this podcast. When you listen,
He's the WrestleMania king of tap outs.
Like he tapped out the most?
Believe it or not. Triple H is the WrestleMania king of tap outs.
So you're saying
over the course of under what 6 years worth, he's tapped out at 3 to 4 WrestleManias. If I'm not mistaken.
Well, that makes me sad, man.
Cena tapped him out as well.
Cena tapped him out, Benoit tapped him out, Taker tapped him out, Brock tapped him out.
Oh, the Kimura. Remember when he broke his arm? I'll tell you one thing, though. When he grabs that sledgehammer.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Triple H is a sledgehammer.
He's king. I'm sorry. He's king of the WrestleMania tap outs. And 2 of those tap outs were 2 years prior to one another. Giving that WrestleMania 20 to Benoit and the 22 in Cena.
Well, you know, when I hear stuff like that, that's why I have a tough time believing when people say, well, Triple H buries everybody. Because if you look at the guys that he's put over, I mean, okay, when he had that matchup against Batista, he made it clear, like, he put Batista over so much, he booked those matches. Do you understand? Like, he went to Vince himself and said, yeah, 3 matches, and all 3 matches Batista's going to win. I mean, that's so unselfish, because, do you understand, this is back when people used to bleed for the business. This guy is losing 18 pints of blood, or whatever it is, but he, knowing the whole time, he's going to lose every time. He's just doing this to make this other guy look good.
Yeah. I got it.
And the reception at the end was kind of terrible for Batista, because it kind of felt like that he did all that for nothing. I kind of feel for Batista. I kind of feel like he did all that for nothing. And it kind of, for whatever reason why nobody likes him, I don't know. But again, Triple H tried. I can tell you that. But it's almost like it was to no avail.
Yeah, I think it's tough too when you're Batista, and sometimes it's about who you're coming up with. I mean, just like, if you look at a guy like Triple H, he had to try to get famous at the same time as Stone Cold and The Rock. Who the hell could do that? Batista had to try to get famous at the same time as John Cena and Brock Lesnar. Who the hell could do that?
Right.
That graduating class, right, Will? That graduating class was Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Batista, and Randy Orton. All came out the same class, right, Will?
Yeah, that was crazy.
But, you know, they all held their own, multiple-time champions.
Brock, Cena, Orton, and Batista.
Right.
That's what he just said, bro.
The delay is crazy. Okay, so just to wrap things up, I just want one final decision from each of you guys, and we'll start with you, Will. Just once and for all, if you had to say this WrestleMania is the best one of all time to you, what is it?
I think I'm gonna go 17, man.
WrestleMania 17, and there's one more time. Just remind me, what was the big match at 17?
Rock and Austin.
Ooh, yeah, that's tough. Yep.
That was the first Rock and Austin.
I thought that first one was way better than the second one, by the way.
Yeah, and the second one was the Austin turn. Him and McMahon came together.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. I thought it was weird, man.
The third one wasn't even close.
Right.
I mean, the third one was actually pretty good. That was the one where Rock finally.
Yeah.
Austin was at the tail end.
That was Stone Cold's last match in WWE. And Bobby, it sounds like somebody is doing construction at your house.
Yeah, we got cooking over here.
Oh, y'all. Oh, what y'all cooking? Is she trying?
Ground beef, sir.
Are you
Ground beef.
tenderizing the
You know
meat?
that sound.
You tenderizing it first? Is that what's happening?
Nah, it ain't. It ain't me.
They take that mallet, and you gotta beat the meat and make sure it's nice. And beat the meat. My bad. I'm gonna keep it PG. So Bobby, so one final.
No,
so
no one's getting excited over here, buddy.
right. Will says WrestleMania 17.
We're just talking straight wrestling.
WrestleMania 17 is the best one of all. What's your final pick, Bobby? The best WrestleMania of all time, in your opinion?
Oh, so we finally got Will to change his mind. Cool. Hey, if that's the case, then we need to make sure Will takes that post.
Wait a second. Go back to
we need to make sure that post comes down. Either that or he edits it to 17.
Bobby, I said it was between 32 and 17 in the original post. You didn't read. You just started commenting.
So what do you say, Bobby? What's your all-time favorite WrestleMania?
Oh my God.
I saw it was 32. Big, like just big. WrestleMania 32. And then people in the comments said 17.
No. Go back.
I just slipped in 21 too. That was the first one I did slip in.
The original comment, my post was, I thought that 32 was top 3 all time.
Was the best one.
Yeah. And
oh yeah, it was the top. Yeah, of course.
He asked what's my favorite all time, and I said it's between 32 and 17.
So, Bobby, what is your pick?
Yeah, of course.
What is your pick for all-time WrestleMania?
I was making sure. Oh my God. Okay, then if that's the case, we just need to edit that whole thing and just say set in PS 17 is my all-time greatest under that post.
Well, what about you? What do you think? Yeah.
Mine was 21. Because to me, in my opinion, hands down, that was almost the perfect card, like I said, under
Will?
the Will's post.
Okay, I need you to explain it one more time.
Huh?
We're losing you. When you were initially explaining why 21 was the best, your phone cut out. Apologize for the delay. Bobby, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I could kind of hear you. I think you're really actually working off of about a 30-second delay. So what's been happening the whole show is when we ask you a question, it takes you like, oh, okay. For example, Bobby, if I ask you a question today, next Friday you'll be answering. You go, wait a minute, let me answer the question from last Tuesday.
This is definitely not scripted. This is definitely off the cuff.
Well, I'm gonna stick with 22. I think you guys made a great case.
Can you guys hear me?
We can only hear you when you say, "Can we hear you?" If that makes sense.
Wait a minute. Can you hear me?
I could hear you just a little bit.
But you can't hear us. Is what's the problem? You hear us about 5 minutes after you say something.
WrestleMania 22 is my all-time favorite. So, I think that's it, man. I want to thank you guys, man, for coming on the show. This is my first time doing a show, a 3-man show.
Please don't say it. Please don't say it.
Don't say what?
Oh my God.
Perfectly.
WrestleMania 22? By the time he hears that, the show will be over anyways. We're gonna. I wanna have you guys back on again. I think I've learned some things about the 3-man. I think maybe next time.
First triple threat segment he's had yet.
Right. Next time, instead of doing the triple threat talk,
This was a ugly triple threat segment.
You got shoveled.
I'm gonna make sure I stand close towards the towers.
or perhaps next time, what we'll do is we'll do it using our cell phone numbers instead of using Facebook, because that might have something to do with it too.
That might be the problem.
Because really, there shouldn't be that's such a crazy thing that you're experiencing a delay. It's hilarious. But I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. It was a pleasure to talk to you both. Yeah, man. One thing I want to promo real quick, because I think both of you guys are on the list. In 2 more days, the top 10 contributors list is going to come out, where I will let you guys know which guys have been contributing the most to, by the way, Bobby has dropped out of the session here. I think his phone has finally given up. So Will, I'll just talk to you, because that's what I've been doing the entire show. The top 10 contributors list is going to come out, and it's going to show 1 through 10 who's been contributing the most to the group. I've been keeping an eye on the race, man. It's insane, because the numbers, they don't change as often as you would think. Because, like, just think about how often you comment or whatever, you know, and the group will. At everybody, like, whatever speed they comment or post at, it's pretty consistent throughout the month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, but I'll put up some, by the way, I just want to get your opinion. If you've had a chance to check out, like, any of the video content that I've made for the page, am I wasting my time with that, or is some of it kind of cool? What do you think?
Which video? Like the one you just posted with the stats behind the numbers or something like that?
Yeah, just like any of those RWT, every RWT video that you've ever seen, I produce all those myself here at my house.
Okay.
And I just wonder, like, okay, when we first started this page, I don't know why, but back then, the page, I mean, like, any post that you put up, so let's say, Will, you put up a post of whatever, it would tell you how many people viewed the post. But then, it doesn't do that anymore. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, so when I'm putting up these videos, I mean, for all I know, a bunch of people are watching it and not commenting or reacting, but I don't know. So, like, maybe I might edit a video. Sometimes it takes me an hour to do those videos, and then maybe one person will like it, and I think, well, maybe I should have raised my kids for that hour instead of making that video.
Well, maybe we can do. Maybe we can start tagging people to the post to make sure they're being. It's 2,000 people. Somebody's seen the post.
You know what it is? Okay, look. Well, I thought about tagging people, but okay, tagging people is like, you know, when the wrestler walks down the ramp and the crowd's not really that excited about them, and they go, "Come on, come on!" You, like, you know, they do the Hogan thing where they put their finger to their ear, where you're like, "Come on, cheer for me." That's that's the equivalent of tagging people. Like, sometimes I'm like, I just want to get a generic response, except generically, the page treats me like Roman Reigns. That's the problem.
No, I'm definitely Roman. I think my post is amazing. Like, oh yeah, this is gonna get some response. Nothing.
That's happened to me, man. Sometimes I'll go back and repost certain things. Like, I know y'all seen this. Come on now.
Because sometimes I'll be scrolling my timeline and I'll see something from the group and I'll comment or like, but then other times I'll have to actually go on the page before I can see something, and I'm like, well, I didn't even see this.
Yeah. So this is what you're saying is true, and here's what I learned. You have to just go on the page and then start scrolling down, because if you just wait for things to pop up on your timeline, there's so much stuff you have missed. Sometimes I look at posts and I'm like, there's 79 comments. I never even saw this post, and people had an entire conversation for the past 3 weeks. And I run the page, and I wasn't aware of it. It's insane. But hey, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to have you back on again soon. And so the 3-man thing was cool, but the next time that we do it, I'd like to go one-on-one with you, because I feel like you had a lot of great stuff to say, man, and you're a cool cat. I just want to kind of pick your brain on some things.
Yeah, man, this is cool, man. I've been a wrestling fan for as long as I can remember, and I've never been in a group where I could actually talk about it. I just had to just talk about it to myself. So this is fun, man.
All right, perfect. Well, Will, you have a good rest of your night, buddy, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you again.
All right, you too, man.
All right, bye. Well, there you have it, folks. That was my show, the RWT podcast with Bobby Mackey and Will Gilliam. And man, it was insane. First time having two guys on the show at once, and it's definitely a learning process. I definitely apologize for the audio issues. Both those guys have a lot of great stuff to say, and for those of you who will listen to the show, you will see we had a lot of chemistry, man. There's nothing better than sitting back with a couple of your buddies just shooting the shit and talking about wrestling. That's what it's all about, man. So we'll definitely have those guys back on again in the future. I think I'm going to try to get the kinks worked out a bit before I try another three-man show. But individually, I think that I will make some good shows with Will and Bobby as well. So we'll see if we can get that going pretty soon here in the future. When you guys get a chance, go on to YouTube and click on WWE Biza, all right? Mike Ibiza is a YouTube gamer. He's doing his thing. Makes these awesome videos, wrestling simulations, and all kinds of cool stuff, and I do a lot of good work with him. We're going to be doing some stuff coming up for No Mercy, where we're going to be doing some simulations and giving our predictions for No Mercy. That's going to go down in Los Angeles, which Eric L. White has tickets to, and man, is he excited about that. And Eric, I hope that I will be able to join you. We'll see if I can get back from Sacramento in time. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the show. This is getting more exciting, getting more fun each week. Always remember, though, if you want to be a guest on the RWT podcast, I don't know, just inbox me on Facebook or send me an email to podcastrwt@gmail.com. Once again, that email is podcastrwt@gmail.com. You guys have a good rest of your whatever day this is. And thanks again for your support. I will catch you down the road.